Hi, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the most amazing authors of a new book we have coming out. It's called Wealth Codes: Sacred Strategies for Abundance. And before I introduce these ladies to you, I'm going to give a ginormous thank you to Jen Pisano. Jen, you have brought together a stellar expert author cast on this beautiful topic, and we are literally redefining wealth and abundance for people in this book. And I am so grateful to you for that mission that you had and for really diving so courageously into it. And not, Jen stepped up to really show the world who she was as a healer, a shamanic priestess, a wealth consciousness coach. And she went to all of you guys and said, hey, we need to talk about this. We need to really redefine what it means, to be wealthy. And so thank you, Jen, for doing that. Our book is split into categories. So we have authors writing about money, relationships, freedom, vitality, and spirituality. So get ready, y'all, because this book is packed, power packed with golden nuggets. I have Christy H. Sullivan with me here today. She is a human design and self-care expert, author, and speaker on a mission to help busy women stop overworking and start overflowing. Natasha Sharma is a clinical hypnotherapist whose passion is money and manifestation. Her mission is to talk about death openly and often until it becomes an easy dinner table conversation. Kelly Murbach is the founder of Secular Shepherdess, where she offers life reclamation coaching and celebrant services so you can honor all parts of your life privately or publicly. There's a lot of alliteration in that bio, Kelly. I should get an award for reading bios, you guys. Seriously, like, whoa, okay. I love it though, right? Because I'm a poet. Welcome, ladies. How are you today?
Doing well, thank you.
Great. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
I am so excited to have you here. Okay, so Christy, you're going to start the party off. Tell us about this amazing chapter that you wrote.
Well, my chapter is called Stop Overworking and Start Overflowing, which, as you heard in my bio, is the mission that I've been on. I am in the section called Freedom, and I write about human design. And if you don't know what human design is, I'll explain quickly. It's your energetic blueprint based on your birth date, sort of like astrology, but on steroids. And when I discovered it a few years ago, about 6 or 7, I really dove in and thought it was fascinating. But then in my journey, and I talk about this in the chapter, I really used that tool that I started to even go deeper with in the last few years to not only build my business, but to shift my life and for me to build the freedom that I wanted in my day-to-day life so that the wealth could flow in, that creativity and my health and wellness could flow. And all of that really is what you'll find in my chapter.
So I've been around you a minute or two now to learn a little bit more about human design and understand how you're putting it into all of the areas of your life, literally how you use this tool to show up in the world. And I love the idea of having that little aha moment about really even like for me, something about my own personality where, you helped me understand something. So tell me a little bit more about how that tool, maybe how you use it, like one of your favorite ways to use it when you show up in your business.
Well, human design can be very complex and there's a lot to it to understand. But usually when I work with people, since now I teach human design to my clients and the people that I work with, I start off with the basics. And one of those aspects is around decision making, which I think we all need guidance or want to tap into that inner wisdom when it comes to our businesses or even relationships or families or life in general. But that decision making, so we're taught and conditioned to use our head and decide from the head, weighs the pros and cons, analyze, and a lot of times overthink things. And really, the head is not the best place to be making decisions. It holds information, it informs us with information, but it's in our body wisdom. And when you look at your human design, for example, you can really understand where it is in your body. So for me, it's my sacral center, if you know the chakra system, which is part of human design. So I can ask myself yes, no questions. But even more than that, those the answer that I get from within the body, from that gut feeling, I now know it's what lights me up. So when I'm faced with an opportunity, I know, like coming onto this interview and being part of the book with Jen, I could feel it in my gut. Like this was a yes decision. So that's why I said yes.
I love that example. Of course. Yeah, but and then speaking to our listeners today, isn't it cool? Wouldn't it be cool to have a way that you could make a decision that you could trust every single time because it was coming from this embodied place like Christy is talking about? And oh man, get ready, because when you go down the human design rabbit hole, you'll be there forever playing in that sandbox. It's awesome. All right, you guys, stay tuned a little bit for more from Christy. Thank you, Christy. Okay, so who's next? Natasha, you are up. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
So I write under the freedom category. I'm chapter 11. It's titled The Beauty of the End Game, Finding Abundance Through Accepting Death. So although I work with money and manifestation, my personal mission in life, as Laura, you kindly said when you were introducing me, my mission on earth that I've taken on at this point in time, at least, is to talk about death easily and often. It is my experience, especially through the pandemic, that, so many people, there's been so many losses across ages. There's no, I mean, it's always been the case, but now it's just more. Like just yesterday, a 49-year-old friend of mine just literally dropped dead. Like she came down the stairs, she was feeling unwell, and then she was gone. So I think compared to earlier, when, there was a trajectory, people would grow old and, aside from accidents and, unforeseen circumstances, that this is increased. And I think it's really important for everyone to evaluate their lives, accept that death can come at any point in time, to keep their affairs in order and prioritize how they really want to live life. Like if I were to drop dead tomorrow, is today a wonderful day? Like, and that includes money, which is why I'm just so excited to be here. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, talk about a juicy topic that we could talk about all day long. I love that that is part of your mission. I'm in a week where we're, having to say goodbye to a dog. And I was trying to talk to my adult children about saying goodbye and how it's sad, but it doesn't have to be devastating. And I think what happens is that we don't talk, and so then it feels devastating. And so I love that mission because that's what I've been doing this week. And whether they like it or not, I've been talking about it. It's just like, you guys, this might happen and we could do this. And then they're like, Mom, I get the eye roll. But
Right.
but I think it's really important. So I thank you for that. How else can you tie that ease of communication about hard subjects into the way that we are healthy? I know that's an interesting tie-in, isn't it? But it
Mhm.
has to do with your health. Help me with that.
Absolutely. And health is also on the multiple layers. It's on, the mind level, the body level, and the spirit level. And that health comes from actually being at ease with whatever's happening in one's life, which is why, when like you said, because we don't talk about death often enough, it becomes devastating. However, what is absolute common sense is that it is a it is a part and parcel of life. Things that are alive are going to die. It's the cycle of life. And that acceptance, so that's why it comes. So if you talk about the health, let's say, and the death topic, so first is to accept the fact that I'm going to die. Second, to accept the fact that people around me, my friends, my family, my pets who are so dear to me are also going to die. Now, when that time comes, and this is the problem with death, is that we don't know when, and that's why there's all this insecurity and fear. However, if we accept that it's going to come, and we accept the fact that we have to grieve, and we honor the fact that that person was alive, we're left with an organized to-do list, and not left with like a mess that we have to either grieve or go through things. If we have all these bits and pieces in order, then there is going to be no disease at that point in time. That dis-ease, when you're trying to still get things done, but you're so stressed out, so then you fall sick, so that's where it is. It basically is, acceptance and surrender.
That's funny that you said, we can create an organized to-do list for this, just like anything else in our lives, that we're simply doing that for in a kind of a relaxed way. Like, all right, I'm going to organize myself and I'm going to make my to-do list, and that's going to help me with those pieces. And it very quickly for me, when you just said that thing about the to-do list, I'm like, oh, okay, that turned a chaotic thought into something that's doable and manageable and I could relax with. So I like that.
Just so.
I like that. Thank you, Natasha. All right, stay tuned for more from Natasha in just a few minutes. Kelly, you're up next. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
Good morning, y'all. I wrote in chapter 17 in the vitality section a piece called Cracking Open, Using Music to Unleash Your Voice. And it really actually ended up being an encompassing of the broad strokes of my story, which was a lot of fun for me to write, because I got to really acknowledge like where the corner I had managed to paint, or in my case, plaster myself into, and how I managed to get out of it using music as one of the tools. So that's kind of what it was.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You got to tell us more about that. So when do you remember music becoming important to you?
Music has always been in the background of my life, but it became super critical for my breaking free of the fortress I had made for myself when I was about 27. And I kept finding these songs that kept going, you don't have to stay where you're at. And it's always really nice when something in the world just looks at you, tells you you don't have to stay where you're at, and you've managed to like lock yourself up pretty tight. So
I mean, that's a moment of healing and a wake-up call, and you have to be paying attention to stuff like that, right? And you were pretty young to be paying attention, so kudos to you for that. But what else do you want to say about that?
Well, I think what really strikes me in talking to people all across the spectrum is how many people feel dead but are afraid to say it out loud. And the truth is, sometimes we all get there, and there are ways out of it. You just have to be willing to kind of look death in the face, like Natasha was saying, and saying, I don't want to stay here because I'm not actually dead yet. So, and just reaching for life.
Yeah, I think you're speaking to a lot of listeners possibly. And if we can just ground and center into our body and give ourselves permission to feel whatever is there. What is that dead feeling? Sometimes for me, it's like no feeling. Like I can't really feel the space around my heart. I can't really feel my gut or my sacral area, as Christy was talking about in terms of feeling the messages and everything. But have you been able to come into your body, into those places to feel?
I have. It's taken a long time, and that's actually the most recent part of my journey. So I decided to become embodied during a pandemic because I have brilliant timing.
You and a lot of other people, I think.
but it's certainly taken a while and a lot of work up front. And becoming okay with not feeling comfortable, because one of the things about being dead below your neck is that all kinds of things can happen in your body down there and you don't really notice them. So I spent 20 years sitting at a desk, not really noticing what was happening below my neck. And so now I feel all the aches and pains. And some days I'm like, was this a good idea? I'm like, no, this is a good idea. This is just part of the good idea you don't like.
So thank you so much for saying this out loud. And I want to thank you, and I want to thank all of you today, not just for saying yes to this project, but for stepping up with your courage and writing these vulnerable pieces about who you are and what has mattered to you. And you, all three of you, know how important this is to me and the mission around here. And you all just did that so brilliantly. And it's going to help our readers really connect and not feel alone, first of all. But then in this book, we're stepping up with master teachings. And you all have been around a minute. You have some experience. You have dedicated yourselves to practice in all of your unique ways. And I just want everyone to know the gifts they're getting from you when you're giving them your abundance strategies. So you all have to, pick up the book and get these nuggets for yourself and see which ones fit and align for you. And that honestly could change everything for you. That's how cool this book is. Okay, so I have a next question for all of you. Natasha, I'm going to start with you for this one. When we think about wealth and abundance, a lot of people just straight up think about money. But wealth is so much more than money. Tell me why it's important to redefine this for people.
So money is essential. We need money to make our dreams come true. Like if we have to go on vacation or buy something or whatever. But money is just a part of it. So if we look at it this way, this is according to me, that money is the tool, wealth is the whole wheelhouse. Wealth is multidimensional. It is all parts of our being. Money just deals with physical things and then buying experiences or enjoying the thing. So, so to actually understand if you are wealthy, we basically go to the theme of gratitude. We can't talk about money and wealth without talking about, for money it's self-worth, and for wealth it's gratitude. So the minute that we're grateful for whatever we have right now, we are wealthy. Human beings are conditioned, like Christy said. Conditioning is the main thing that we have to deal with. And we're conditioned by our family, we're conditioned by society, by our religion, the school we go to, our peers. That's how we get conditioned, and that's how we believe whether we are in lack or not. And when we feel that in lack, we're constantly hankering for the next best thing, the whole keeping up with the Joneses. And this all came around really, or I think around in the 1920s and 30s when television came and advertising. Otherwise, people were pretty happy. So it's just, if let's say that, I'll give you a scenario. Let's say I really want a fancy new Mercedes, but I do have a car right now that is good. It's not breaking down, and that's not why I want to upgrade. I just want to upgrade because Mr. Jones got a Merc, so now I want a Merc. So today I can be wealthy. So if I think about the Merc that I can't get to, I will feel in lack. However, if I look at the car that I have, and I'm grateful for the fact that I have a car for now, and I have the ability to dream about tomorrow and manifest that thing with ease, then I have wealth right now.
Yes.
And every experience that we have can make us feel wealthy. Just yesterday, myself, my husband, and my aunt, we went out for brunch. And my husband got a shepherd's pie. My aunt got a grilled chicken breast with vegetables and mash. And I got myself poached eggs and a salad. As soon as mine came, I was just fascinated by how beautiful it all looked. And I was just like, oh, yum. And my eggs were eggs Florentine. I can't tell you that were they the best eggs Florentine I've ever eaten. But It was so delicious. I polished off my salad. I polished off my eggs. I'm the only one who didn't pack a doggy bag. And I came home and I took a nap. And that is because I was just so into that. I just was grateful and expanded and feeling so lucky that I was in this restaurant eating this meal. And this is what the shift has happened within me personally, as I've embraced both the temporariness of the human existence as well as the money and the manifestation process.
I love that so much. I could taste those eggs just now. You're going to make me hungry. But how beautiful. And wealth, if we can move ourselves and shift into gratitude, that's outstanding. Gratitude and appreciation for what we already have. And most of us already have quite a bit. And so I think this practice is so foundational. So thank you, Natasha. So Kelly, for you on this, why is it important to redefine this for people?
Because when we only define wealth as monetary things or having all this stuff, we basically lock ourselves into boxes. Like, I was a structural engineer for 20 years. I made good money. I did, but I had a life I didn't love. I had a life that didn't feel like living. But because, like Natasha said, I was conditioned to make sure I had a roof over my head and food on the table and all that good stuff, and that was my responsibility. I chose to stay in a career decades longer than I wanted to, because that's what was important, but it was slowly killing me. I mean, it, like, within my section of vitality, like, part of being alive and having wealth is being able to actually enjoy it, right? And not just the excitement of new book day, which is one of my favorite days, by the way. Not just the excitement of new book day, but actually being able to enjoy the eggs Florentine or what's in front of you. And you can't do that if all you're worried about is what the number in your bank account is. You just can't, because it then boils everything down to greenbacks or whatever it is you use where you are. It just boils everything down to a number, and humans aren't numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers may bring us joy for some of us, but we're not numbers.
Yeah, amen to all of that. And I can feel that box, right? I think a lot of our listeners probably can feel that box around them. So, take that deep breath and understand that you're putting yourself in there. So, like it's time to kind of break out of this. I love that. And it's definitely probably one of the biggest reasons we need to start to redefine and have discussions about what this is. Like Natasha was talking about with death, like money is another taboo subject for most people because of their conditioning, and what it means to be healthy and what it means to not be feeling good. And you don't want to tell anyone you're not feeling, oh my goodness. It goes on and on. Christy, what do you want to add to this discussion? Why is it important to redefine this?
Well, on a side note, I just want to say, like, these interviews always bring together the threads of all these authors. You have a good book in front of you. And so much of what we're sharing, even though we're 3 separate chapters, 3 stories, is so similar. I totally can resonate with what Natasha and Kelly said. From a human design perspective, we are conditioned around this idea that money equals productivity, which equals working hard. And that's what I talk about in my chapter and story as well, which is around this idea that I was not only conditioned to work hard, but it was part of my ancestral lineage. It's part of my Eastern European upbringing. And I think a lot of us, especially the societies we live in, most societies these days, are more of that masculine, hardworking, productivity equals money. And that is, like Natasha said earlier, related to worth. So I learned along my journey recently that notice how you defined your worth. And if it's related to money, what if it's related to something else? And what I love also about human design is that it's taught me that the alignment of your energy, and yes, the outside physical health, body health is important, but there's also our inside, internal, more than just emotional and mental, energetic health is so important, because when we're in that alignment, there's flow, and literally that allows abundance to flow, whether it is money or whatever you define as your worth. You're, like Natasha said, you're going to feel gratitude more. You're going to feel less of that box that Kelly talks about. You're going to feel flow, that you're just in the right place, the right time, the right opportunities seem to be happening. That means that that energy is in alignment for who you are, because we're all uniquely built and it's different for each of us. So that's really some of the things I've learned in relation to wealth, that if I put that first, my inner well-being, my self-care, and how, again, I define my self-worth, then I know that the money will naturally be there as the byproduct.
Yes. Natasha, you want to add something to that?
I did. I want to say that Christy is my friend as well as my co-author, and we're both in the freedom section. And I do want to just underline what she's talking about human design. When I met Christy and she introduced me to it, and I found out my type, my world has changed. And on that, the less said, the better, because you can read her chapter, you can read her full book. And, yes, once you realize this is just another tool to put you in flow with all the stuff that Kelly's talking about, the box, what I'm talking about, the gratitude. And, it's really, I mean, gratitude is more than a word. And it is amazing to see that a lot of people don't even understand the basic principles of it. We think people do, but they don't, because the conditioning is so deep to first criticize what's in front of you instead of appreciating it. It's just mind-blowing. The more I'm doing it, the more I'm observing it. But human design is a wonderful doorway to go through for the next level. I just wanted to add that to Christy. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so I want to continue a piece today with you three, because I think I've heard it a couple of times and I am very interested in this. And both Natasha and Christy talked about it. Kelly, I'm going to start with you though for this. Natasha said, wealth is gratitude, but money is self-worth. And when I have talked about my own healing journey, I feel like it is a lifelong pursuit to reclaim my worthiness. And I even bought a candle the other day so that I could light my worthy candle. And it's not on right now because, I would be burning the house down right this second. But honestly, I want to talk more about why the foundation of worthiness needs to be addressed really first, I think. What do you think, Kelly?
Basically, because when we're young, we write stories. Things happen to us, and the only perspective we have is our own, and then we write stories about them. And a lot of times those stories are about how we're not worthy of being loved, or we're not worthy of the attention we are asking for. And if we don't start addressing those stories, fixing everything else is just changing the wrapping paper. So basically, if you don't address the worthiness, you may get somewhere, but you're not going to get anywhere near as far as you could.
Yeah, you're just changing the wrapping paper. Awesome. Yes. Okay. Christy, you started to talk about this. What else do you want to say about worthiness in terms of it being foundational to this abundance and wealth journey?
Well, I think it's foundational for everyone's journey, no matter where you are. I think that at some point along your life, you may not even use those words or know that that's the journey you're on, but we all face that. And I mentioned uniqueness. What I've come to learn is that we all are uniquely built. We're all here for a unique purpose. And, growing up, I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be part of a group. I wanted to be like others. And we all want that community and connection as well. But now I think I'm starting to see it in a lens, as well as those in this community too, that we are all unique and we can be connected. And I think when you honor your uniqueness, that's honoring and elevating your worthiness, because honoring who you are honors your soul. And when you're on a journey, whatever that is, if you are doing personal development or growth, you're uncovering, I think, more of who you are. You're understanding the conditioning, making decisions with that inner wisdom, things like that. And that starts to awaken more worthiness. And the last thing I'll say is that when you honor yourself for who you are, and that worthiness elevates, you also start to recognize and honor others for who they are uniquely, that they don't have to be like you, and we don't have to try to make others like us. I support others in my human design circles and their uniqueness and their journeys. I don't have a formula that they follow. I think everyone has their own formula that they have to come up with in that internal process and personal growth journey. And so I think the worthiness starts to elevate again if you are on that journey. And reading our book, of course, you will elevate your worthiness.
You're going to elevate a lot of things if you read this book, y'all. Like, it's an exciting book. Okay, Natasha, you've helped me with this connection a lot. And of course, I had spent a minute or two in this subject over my life. And I just know that it's foundational. So tell us what you want to add about this connection to worth.
So what Christy said is exactly so. And if I take a little bit of Kelly's example when she's talking about the fortress and the walls that we build, in my personal journey of self-awareness and understanding and coming to my own, human design has been key to that. My type is a projector, and our main thing is that we need to wait to be invited to speak. We have a lot of wisdom, but we need to be invited to speak. Now, what happens to most projectors, obviously through the conditioning and through wanting to be part of a group and wanting to belong, we never belong because we're constantly talking to audiences that aren't receptive. So when I have stepped into my truth and in my alignment, like Christy said, it is so easy for me now. I mean, it's a process. It'll take its time to shift and change. But I'm finding myself very aware of where my boundaries are at. I'm being able to draw boundaries without building fortress walls. So that is extremely empowering. In fact, the other day, somebody very close to me, it wasn't very nice, but that person turned around to me and said, "Oh, do you really think you know it all? I think we need to wait and see what happens." And I said, "No, I do know everything. As far as my area of expertise is concerned, I am complete. I know." And, they came at me again, and I was just so sure. But the conditioning is, what does she think about herself? How can she, how can she be so big-headed? But it's that balance. It's finding your truth. When you can stand in the light of your truth, then nothing else matters. And like Christy said, it is unique to each person, and there's no judgment. And most of all, it's not a competition. So all of us are healers, have all of our own spaces where we resonate with different people. We have different roles to play, and we've come to earth to fulfill a purpose. And when we find that, then we just honor that, and we don't let anybody, whether it be friends, family, this expectation, duties, people pleasing, it all needs to shift, and it starts shifting automatically because you can't be authentic if you're doing all those bits.
Yeah, I've written whole blogs about duty and obligation and the conditioning, that led to feeling that way for most of my life. Like some of these aha moments happened well into adulthood, and divine timing. But yeah, these topics are so important. All right, I have one more thing for all of you, and really it's for the listeners today. So, Christy, we have a lot of people that are on this journey and they're kind of waking up in it and they need an easy entry point. So, what's one simple thing that you would tell them if they have been struggling? How can they begin to ease onto this journey with us for wealth and abundance?
This is part of what I talk about in the tool. And I just, by the way, want to plug that this kind of book is just great because you get a personal story, you get some information, which is always knowledge and empowerment. But then you get a tool, something that you can apply when after the reader has read the chapter, something they can do in the comfort of their home and their life. And for me, part of that is self-care. How are you addressing self-care? So notice what I tell people to do. Actually, I haven't really heard this before. I wouldn't say I invented it, but I think that we all have heard of our gratitude journal, which is great, and writing down what you're grateful for. But I recommend people start a self-care journal of what they're doing already on a daily basis for themselves, because I think we don't acknowledge what we already are. And when we start to look at even the little things, it starts to grow from there. And I just want to give that one tip, that self-care is so key, but don't think of it as this big, overwhelming, expensive thing like weekly massages or expensive trips. It can be going out for a walk. It could be sitting and taking a few breaths. So at the end of the day, just mark down, what did you do for yourself? How did you treat yourself? Maybe you just gave yourself some kindness, or put your own arms around yourself to give yourself a hug. Those are the things I think we have to acknowledge of what we're doing. And it helps us on so many levels.
Kelly, how about you? What do you want to say to our listeners?
The start of any journey is hard. It's scary because you're just picking a path and you don't actually see where the end of the path is. So what I would really like to leave the listeners with is the idea that one deep breath and one foot forward. Like, it's small steps and it's okay. And it's supposed to be that way. Because a lot of times we think we should get it like that, right? We think we should fix it today. But it didn't get messed up in a day. It's not going to get fixed in a day. And I think just the breathing into that and just kind of knowing that you're doing the best you can in this moment is really just helpful and encouraging on the worst of days.
All right, Natasha, what do you want to say about this?
I want to say that what Christy and Kelly both said pretty much covers the whole thing. I want to say, well, I will add just to say that all roads lead to Rome. As long, and like you said, is divine timing. The right book, the right tool, the right video for the people who are watching this video, the people who pick up wealth codes, sacred strategies for abundance will find, like Christy said, a wealth of information in there. So many different stories that they can resonate with different people, different strategies and tools. And like Kelly said, it's the first step. And then whatever you do, meditation, yoga, going to therapy, going to retreats, there's so many options just to figure out that no, you don't have all the answers. We're going to learn till the day we die. And there is potentially another world outside of our conditioning and the boxes that we've grown up in. So just to open your mind when you're ready, and grab what your nearest tool. Like Christy said, it doesn't have to be away, far away. The step could be right here. And just a conversation with a friend, just a human design reading so you understand your type, a book you read, a movie you watch, whatever, just to expand your awareness and be receptive to more stuff that the universe chooses to share with you at the right time.
Thank you. And thank you all. And yes, nuggets of awareness, one moment of awareness can be a healing moment, can be a game-changing, life-changing moment. This book is going to be full of those for you all. Authors, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone. Thanks, ladies. So, to all of our listeners, if you heard something today that just made you buzz, you're resonating, you're curious, whatever, right? Just drop down into the show notes because I have all of our authors hooked up there with their websites. Take a little exploration. They are very generously there for you to answer a question, to give you some support, to continue the conversation of something that you heard today. And these authors are up to some awesomeness in the world. So go find out about it. And if you'd like to join us, we're going to be having a live stream book launch party on August 26th at 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to be together with all of the Wealth Codes authors, and they'll be sharing their wisdom with you. And that's going to be on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page, if I didn't already say that. And if you're listening after August 26th, then please head over to Amazon because that means the book is ready and you can grab your copy and start your journey today. So lastly, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. It's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone. Bye, ladies.